Welcome to another episode of Face to Face with Reese. On this episode, we're going to discuss the power of celebrity and how you can engineer this in your marketing so you can attract clients rather than chase them. In this season of Face to Face, we're tackling everything around the challenges of doubling your business. Go download the Double Your Business Guide by visiting facetofacepodcast.com/double. Learn how to maximize what you're already doing, when to double the leads, and how to double the conversion. But most importantly, the decisions that double your profit. This guide will serve you as a roadmap. So if you've not gotten a copy, go to facetofacepodcast.com/double. With that said, let's dive into this next episode. Where are my local celebrities at?
This is Face to Face with the co-founders of the National Association of Expert Advisors, Jay Kinder and Michael Reese.
We believe that we can change the real estate industry. There is a better way to sell real estate.
Your success is ultimately a sum of the decisions that you make.
And they're really developing a process, a set of guidelines, a set of procedures.
They're also best-selling authors.
Here today to discuss the issue is Jay Kinder and Michael Reese.
This is a great episode, and I can say that one of the things that was awesome in my real estate business was when I was able to connect the dots here. It was such a better way to do business. So, becoming the celebrity, you definitely could have, still can write the book on that topic. Why don't we start unpacking that for today's listener?
Right on. So it doesn't matter whether you want to be a celebrity or you don't want to be a celebrity or whatever. Bottom line is when the people know who you are and you get paid for who you are, not what it is you do, that's a way better business.
Yeah.
Right? So, when you first started talking to this, reminded me of, the time that I was riding with you in the Hummer and you had just dropped like 300,000 postcards, some ridiculous number of postcards, all branded postcards, same postcard you've been sending out for apparently quite some time. And the lady on the phone, actually right after it dropped, you got a phone call. You put it on speakerphone, and she said, "Is this Michael Reese?" And you said, "Yeah." And you were smiling. You were looking at me because we were driving down the road. And you're like, "See, the postcard just dropped." And she goes, "I can wallpaper my bathroom with all these postcards you've been sending me. I need to sell my house." And it was just the funniest thing because, if you've never experienced, the power of marketing and becoming a celebrity in your marketplace or leveraging celebrity, which I think these are kind of two separate topics that go together, then you're missing the opportunity. I mean, I talked to a guy the other day that was doing 100 deals the hardest way you can do it, 100 deals. You know what I mean? Like, nobody knew who he was in the marketplace. He was calling data, killing it, making money, but he was all over the marketplace. And there was no real place where he had become the go-to guy yet. You know what I mean? And there's a point where you got to leverage all the money you're making from the hard work of making the calls and building the business and going after physical and expired. And you want to leverage that into becoming the positioned as the celebrity in the marketplace.
Right.
And there's a lot of ways to do that. There's leveraging celebrity, which we can talk about a ton of ways about how to do that. And then, it's what happens when, if you want to go from 100 to 200 to 400, and that's what happened for me in my business. It's what happened for you in your business. Mm-hmm. And it's what we help our agents that we coach and train to do is, I was talking to someone the other day about all the different, business, all the different pillars in the business. So there's a lot of really great, ideas out there around referrals. And, there's a specific referral coach. And then there's someone who teaches prospecting specifically. And then there's someone who teaches direct response. Nobody teaches you how to run a business. And, you're running a business here. You know what I mean? And if you don't have all those pieces and understand how they all work together and are doing the right things in the right order, then you just don't get the same result. It's like trying to bake a cake and the wrong recipe. You're not going to ever end up with the same result. So I think this is, to me, if you're doing 80 to 150 deals, the difference between whether you're going to go to the next level or not is whether or not you understand how to become the celebrity in your marketplace or start leveraging celebrities in your marketing to really take over the market, if you will.
Yeah, that's interesting. And so one of the things that I think is, I've been watching these other podcasts, and me and you've been talking. And so one of the natural things that we talk about is we get on these podcasts, and sometimes we're putting on a clinic, we're teaching, And then in the back of my mind, sometimes I just want to take off, turn off the microphone and just talk about like in real life what I'm experiencing, what I've learned. And what I mean by that is like in the real world. So like I'll give you an example. In my world this week, I've been doing webinars. I had 3 webinars going on at one time, and no different than us, the person listening to this podcast. They could like, at the truth be told, you could have a podcast in your real estate business. They didn't have this type of technology or opportunity.
It's a huge opportunity.
And so when I'm looking at my wall over here, 44% of the people who registered for my webinar were doing under 90,000. Okay.
Right.
So first of all, if you're going to become a celebrity, I think one of the main thing is you start small,
right?
Get a target market,
right?
And then grow, because you can't take over the whole market at the same time. And when you were talking, I was remembering when I gained celebrity and then I lost it, right?
Right.
And what happened was my celebrity efforts was not in alignment with the speed of my city growing. So like in most people's places, you might add a couple hundred homes. We got 20,000 new rooftops,
right?
And there's a lot. It's like the Oklahoma Land Run every year. And so I say that because, when I do a webinar, I have cold traffic, which is people that don't know who I am.
Right.
And then I have warm traffic. These are people who subscribe and listen to me, listen to this podcast. You'd be considered warm traffic. And the shocking thing about warm traffic is when I was on the road, so many people had been listening to us for so long.
Right.
And I think one of the things to understand is that in your market, you're influencing somebody and people are listening. Right. I mean, people are listening.
Yep.
And so you have to be, when you start to go becoming the celebrity, you really have to pick a channel, right? Like you have to start with one. When you start layering them on is when it starts building momentum, but you have to pick a channel. So I was sitting at my house and I looked at my phone and I thought, how brilliant was the Daily V? Daily V is Gary V. He does it daily.
Right.
I was like, if I was going to do anything, I mean, who cannot just jump up and shoot the daily? Because like what happens is people feel uncomfortable with posting, communicating to this audience. And so for me, I was doing postcard. You did radio. We're communicating. But in real life, I mean, the celebrity transcends just when you become a celebrity, people want to know what kind of car you drive, where you live, what are your kids like? They want your reality TV show. They want to know what it's like to be you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so in your marketplace, there's a lot of different things. I just know that on a webinar that one of the things that I learned was that the more people consume my content, the higher the probability they look at me as a celebrity.
Right.
And so it's all about what you've done a great job is you were on radio. You were consistently on radio. People would consume it. Like some people spit in the ocean. You were the Incredible Hulk in the puddle.
Let's unpack that too.
All right.
So what Michael's referencing is when early in my career I was doing about 100 deals, right around 100 deals, and I started doing radio. And where the reason it worked, where radio didn't work for most people, was we had a fixed spot at 7:50 a.m., which drive
audience.
The same audience every day, right? So we're
target market.
You're talking about a target market now, and then
certain demographic for the radio station.
There's a certain demographic. They listen to that morning show with Eric and Jerry. So Eric and Jerry are the celebrities, and so who's my commercial with? Now, did I go on by myself and try to tell people how wonderful I was, like everybody else does radio? Nope. I said, let's go on, and let's have Eric and Jerry introduce me. Right, so I wrote my introduction, and they introduced me as one of the top agents in the state of Oklahoma in the beginning, and obviously, number 2 in the world for Coldwell Banker after that. But as they introduced me, and then they would ask me a question that I would already have pre-positioned, and then I would tell them how we helped solve somebody's problem, and was being positioned as an expert. Would ask me questions about what's going on in the market, just being very conversational. And because it was a first in rotation spot, it sounded like a live read. It sounded like I was in studio with them. I wasn't live in studio with him, but that's what it felt like to everybody that listened. For years, I actually remember one time I walked into the convenience store, and I was getting something to drink, or whatever, and my radio spot came on. It was playing and I was in this store, and they were looking at me like, "You ain't in the radio station." And I'm like, "Oh shoot, I never thought about getting caught." You know what I'm saying? But it felt like a live read. But the reason it worked, and it got to a point where the reason it worked so fast, where a lot of people stopped doing things that are trying to brand themselves, and they stopped doing it. The reason it worked is reach and frequency. There was 55,000 listeners on that station. About 15,000 of them listened at 750, and it's probably the same 15,000 every day that are creatures of habit in the morning on their way into work or whatever, when they get to work. And at 750, that was just that audience eventually got to know me as a celebrity over time, daily, because we did a daily spot. And I was leveraging the celebrity of Eric and Jerry, the morning show. They loved Eric and Jerry, or they would be listening every single day, right? So then, now you got Eric and Jerry talking to me. Then ultimately, I helped Eric's parents buy a home. They moved to Lawton, Oklahoma, bought a home from me in Almore West. And after that, now I've got the testimonial from Eric, who now is in real estate. But that was the reason that it worked, right? Like consistency over that same audience over and over and over. When somebody thinks real estate now, who do you think of?
With a good message,
right? With a good message. And just good content, what I mean? Like just helping people.
Educational.
Yep.
And the type of content you had proof.
Right.
Which
Always
validated, backed up your value prop.
Right.
Like Jay did sell my house for this amount or this time frame.
Right.
Right. And then you had, that's interesting. So let me ask you a question without getting into people's business, but I'm going to get into their business.
Oh boy.
So we have a client that we worked with, probably our best client. And we don't have to say their name, so I don't think it will matter. But they're bringing on a celebrity.
Yeah,
a real celebrity.
Real celebrity.
Now I was tracking. We've talked about this a couple times. It's just been at the core of some other stuff we've been working on, and I know you passionately feel like you've seen this mistake or made this mistake. At the principal level, kind of give some context with this person, what they're trying to accomplish, and what you feel like is the missed opportunity.
Right. So, I think that's a huge opportunity. I mean, this is we'll just call them a local celebrity. They're on a national platform. They're recognized nationally in the sporting industry, and there's a tremendous opportunity to leverage that celebrity. But it's people don't just pick up the phone and call you because a celebrity endorses you. There has to be some kind of relevance as to the relationship. And over time, this person that is going to endorse their business partners. They're going to endorse this particular real estate agent. I think it's a great opportunity. I think the concern that I have is that they don't have a really a clear content strategy that's aligning to why is this person now all of a sudden trying to tell you who to go sell your house through.
They think the celebrity's going to do all the heavy lifting,
right?
And with no marketing.
With no marketing and no.
There's a difference between advertising and marketing.
Yeah, and you're not. The phone's not just going to ring off the hook because
you advertise a celebrity.
Hey, look, I got a celebrity. That's not how it works, right? It's that consistency, and you got to build trust, and it's got to be relevant. Like so, Barbara Corcoran. The reason Barbara Corcoran works as an endorsement is she's if you listen to the commercials and you pay close attention to what she's saying, I mean it's brilliant marketing. What they're doing is they're aligning her expertise on Shark Tank, her previous experience as a real estate agent and real estate broker, and as if I'm looking for an agent, here's who I'm looking for, and if I was looking for an agent in this market, this is who I would use, and here's why. That's a whole different that is a better strategy to and it's more aligned for someone to say over time, yeah, you know what, maybe I should give them a shot or whatever. Right, but you better have a strategy for that, or it's not going to get results. You're just going to be paying a lot of money for a celebrity with no results. So,
yeah, that's interesting.
Right, and you know what I want to unpack is you went somewhere. And I think you remember when I did the radio show.
Yeah,
and I interviewed on it. I have it in my car actually right now.
Oh, that's
it's in the CD player in my car because I found it. I was like, man, I don't even remember what we talked about, but that had to be good. So I listened to it. It was funny. I don't even remember what year it was. Probably
09.
Yeah, it was 09. I think it was. And so I found that whole CD book of all the people I interviewed. And I interviewed everybody. I mean, I'm the mayor. I interviewed, people at Cameron University, just different business owners. I mean, I had a lot of really influential people that I'd interviewed, and I was just interviewing them on the community about Lawton. What's going on? What have you been up to? And it was, looking back, it was really pretty smart. It didn't have quite the audience, you know what I mean, on a whatever. It was like a Sunday morning at 9 or 10 or something crazy like that. Maybe something, whatever it was. It was not a good time to be doing a radio show necessarily, and it had a good listener base. But those influencers, oh man, they all listen to their own show. You know what I'm saying? They felt like they were celebrities. They don't get on the radio. So that was a really good strategy. And you said it a minute ago, and I can't stop thinking about it because there's no doubt in my mind we'd be doing a podcast if we were actively selling real estate. There's just no way.
Yeah.
So let's unpack how you would do that. Like today, knowing what we know, we have a pretty good sized listener base, and thank you all for listening. We have a lot of fun doing these podcasts. I mean, it really is a tremendous amount of fun for me. But why would you do it? What would it look like today if you were to go?
So I told you the other day I talked to a guy that every time I talk to him, his talking to him is a podcast about podcasting. This dude is brilliant. He's like someone that I just love to work with, and he manages a lot of very successful podcasts for other people, right?
Right.
And we were having a conversation, and I was just letting him know we were having a discussion about how to do a podcast, and there was a couple things. I'll just be open and real. So a guy named Frank, who helps deliver content across a guy named Frank was going to promote our big conference, Exponential Growth Summit, in 2016. And as a person that was going to help us promote them, we gave him a hard drive of all of Jay Abraham's stuff. And so I get a call about 7 months later, and this guy is a good marketer. And he calls me up and he says, dude, I've been going through the Jay Abraham stuff, the hard drive you gave to me, and there's a whole thing in there about interviewing other people. And I was like, and he was like, I want to interview you. I've already done these 6. This shit is working. This is amazing. I thank you so much for this hard drive. I have a strategy. So I start seeing in Facebook, honestly, him executing the strategy.
Right.
And it was almost like exactly what I had just did to him with me not fully executing what I did to him. Meaning he was taking what I was trying to do and gave me an angle that I obviously wasn't paying attention to and started executing. I was like, well, hey, I mean, it kind of felt like that was somewhat a great idea that I should have had, right? I mean, I felt like I had it. I was close to it.
Right.
And so, but the point was the point that we're all making here is like, whether it's radio, the podcast is the media and the channel that I think on a local level that what you're trying to do is get tip of spear. What he was doing was the same thing. The difference was he had a goal. So his goal was to get influencers to come on his show.
Right.
And then they would then promote their show, therefore building his audience base by them attracting people to his base because they were on his show. Exactly what you just said.
Right.
So he was like, and then we'll rotate it and what we'll do. And he had this whole strategy. Well, at the end of the day, his goal was then to get them to know about his product and service, which was, again, promoting to an audience. But wherever he was doing short little videos where you would provide content and email it out to a database. Well, we do all of this, right? And so in the real world, outside of just that, so knowing what we do and kind of understanding it's really a content marketing strategy, because a podcast can be it can be recorded, it can be so like this episode about celebrity will be a part of our new Kinder Reese coaching. So in Kinder Reese coaching, we have a marketing maven that we put out every month, and part of our content creation strategy, which remember we're sending you guys this content or our clients this content, but what content are you sending to your people? You could be talking to people in your community about, my house is a new construction house.
Right.
And there's warranties on like your water heater after 5 years. There's certain warranties, right?
Right.
So I could be talking to a builder about everything you need to know about your home warranty over the course of the first 5 years, right? Because well, remember these things, whatever. What would be valuable to go out to all your past clients with the new construction, or to be an episode on your podcast about, hey, buying new construction, all the things you need to know about home warranty. Then you could have the home warranty guy on,
right.
on how to make sure that you set yourself up.
Them, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like you just got an expensive oven replaced, right? And
$5,000.
Yeah, so
I hit the jackpot on that.
You did hit the jackpot, and let me tell you what I learned. I was listening to a buddy of mine, Frank Kern. I was actually having a conversation with him, and he said, Mike, people don't understand how to write newsletters. He said, I learned from Gary Halbert. Gary Halbert sent more direct mail to any household on the planet. Over 1 billion pieces sent, meaning he had a good campaign. And he said, Gary, yeah, you can make money with direct mail. He said, let me tell you what Gary said. You're always writing your newsletter. And he went through his process on how he does it. Well, that's the same process on your show. And where I struggle just being open and real with our face-to-face is like, I ran a 60-mile ultra marathon, right? And I would love to talk about, I remember being in the dark in the middle of a field. I would love to talk about that, right?
Right.
But I could also bring David Goggins on, who's a Navy SEAL, the Navy SEAL in the book that Jesse Itzler wrote about, Living with the SEAL, which is an amazing book. And
everyone should listen to Living with the SEAL.
Everybody should listen to that, yeah. And so like for me, I just want to talk about real life. And so what I struggle with is the balance between getting them on, which is what me and you talked about, and then once you're a celebrity, they don't really care what you talk about. They just want to hear your opinion about what's actively going on in the community.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so
you have those open and real conversations. Some of these people. Like I interviewed Hossein Boini, who I have a tremendous amount of respect for. He owns multiple businesses and stuff like that. But I'm in Ambucks with him. You know what I mean? And these are people that are leaders in the community. Like that to me, that's such a great strategy for a real estate agent. You should become, if you're not a part of the Chamber of Commerce, if you're not a part of your, whatever civic organizations there are to be a part of in your area, get involved. I mean, be a part of your community, be an advocate for your community. And then, when you interview these people, they're going to know who you are. They'll be happy to get on and do an interview with you. And, you start asking about what they're doing. And, people get to learn about these other influencers that own companies in the marketplace that they go to all the time. And then, you just get to be kind of, you just get to talk about what you've been doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, last month I just went and did this or whatever. It just becomes very natural to share those stories of what's going on in your life. And, it's interesting because people look at the people that own 2, 3, 4 businesses in a community as celebrities in the marketplace. They legitimately are. And that's an opportunity for them to promote their businesses. So they're happy to get on. But if you're doing it, with a theme of promoting the community or promoting something that's a charity or whatever the case may be, it's just a great content strategy that I don't see being used near enough.
yeah. On Friday I was working on a scholarship, and one of the things, if you think about, we were having a discussion about local. Just think about, it's weird that we're even having this conversation, but we were talking. Football's big in Texas. And, the high school, the guy who's going D1, in the high school, he's a celebrity. He's probably the biggest celebrity in town. You know what I'm saying? Think about back in our hometown, Jamal Brown.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Going to play for OU, then the Saints, Super Bowl.
Did you see Deion Sanders' freshman son won the state championship this year?
I didn't see that, no.
Yeah, won the state championship as a freshman, threw for 4 touchdowns, ran for 2.
Yeah, celebrity.
He's celebrity.
Yeah.
He double celebrity.
Yeah, he get the so like I think you nailed it. It's getting entrenched. My perspective on what we do on, find someone to model and then do it on a local level. And what I think, just for me, it's at the fundamental core, what we're saying is produce valuable content for your marketplace and do it consistently and do it through a media that you can do. And a podcast is one of the easiest media channels that I think that people are overlooking. One of the things that we're working on that I think will be part of our inner circle will be helping people become the local celebrity.
Right.
And so if you go to Inner Circle, we got a little thing that we've been lining out, because we've done multiple podcasts, and your experience with doing and helping people with radio, and we've worked with celebrities based upon the target audience, based upon their perception of who the celebrity is.
Right.
I think there's things from naming conventions, so there's how you produce, right?
Right.
And then there's how you publish.
Right.
And so it's not just the production of the podcast, it's what you do with it and how you leverage it. Having a podcast alone is a calling card to call people within your community with a script that you wouldn't naturally be able to call, that will take your call, because regardless if you're the mayor, you're having these conversations with other people. People are wanting you on their podcast for whatever reason, and so you just are now entering the conversation and playing almost game theory, as Jay Abraham would say. Yeah. You're changing the game,
right?
And so and the problem is that if you are truly an expert and you are truly a professional, then being consistent, like not all agents go to work every day. Not all agents, unfortunately, the AFAs, the average frustrated agents, they don't. They would have a tough time, just managing their inbox on their email, right? And
lead back.
Yeah, they're just being a business person. And like you said earlier, this is a business. So if you are a business person and a professional person, and you look at yourself as someone who, if people knew you and knew more about you, they would definitely go with you over other people. I think that there's that platform of, like Curtis Johnson used to have that funny thing. Oh, yeah, what was that called?
He had the stupid real estate agent of the week.
Yeah,
the funniest thing I ever seen. He would pick one agent and just clown on him. I mean, it was rough too.
Yeah.
But everybody loved it. Everybody except for the real estate agent. It was the one that that was the dumbest real estate agent of the week. But it was something that you would tune in just to see what was he going to do next.
Hell
and
yeah.
That's you want to be that character. If you can, because it carries a ton of weight. It's just what's interesting. I mean, it's something you'd want to listen to.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he had a bunch of agents listen too, because a bunch of the agents that ended up joining and working with him, he has a ton of influence in his market because everybody thought it was funny. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Some of these agents really were stupid.
Yeah.
Like that. It was worthy of being on the show.
Right.
It was pretty funny.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think that the balance is that you want to. Let me tell you something. Value entertainment is a transformation is a transaction of value, right? Entertainment is like when you go, people will pay to be entertained, right? And so if you can be on a podcast and you can meet people in your community and you enjoy, you are genuinely a good person that has an opinion about what's going on in your community, and you want to get your voice out there, but also the other people that you want to align with. Then I think that it would be, the advice I would say is the number one advice would be the naming of it would be, and that's always, is it the Jay Kinder or the Michael Reese, so for us, it's face to face with Jay and Michael, but should it be face to face with Kinder and Reese, right? Like little things like that, those are deep rabbit holes that are very important. But I think if you nail the naming convention, and there's a lot of things to read out there on the different things to consider with your naming convention. Do you call it about? I mean, you could have the new, moving to Frisco podcast. I mean, you could have that, and I guarantee you could send that out to buyer leads, and they would consume the hell out of it, right? And you could probably even have post production be done by people on your team, right? And do the same theory, or you can have your value prop, or you can have just, the whole, what I seen best executed was literally the mayor of Frisco. Right. I mean, he's the mayor, right? He's the digital mayor, real mayor.
Killed it.
And, years ago in 2005, 6, 7, he was just a real estate professional, and being the mayor here, when I see him with Jerry Jones, when they're opening the stadium. I mean, he's in with some pretty big people moving to town, right? I mean, it's a big city growing fast. So his Rolodex is growing quickly.
Yeah.
And he's busy, to say the least. But he started with, he bought a little website called Frisco Online. Me and Odo had this conversation the other day. And it was, I don't remember the exact details, but it was like $50,000. And he self-liquidated that site with advertisers, and then became the only realtor there, and then published content consistently. And before Facebook communities were around, if there was a tornado or anything, everybody went to, there was an acronym for it. I forget what it was. People had stickers and everything. And he built a community that consumed his content that he consistently published about what was going on in Frisco specifically. He sold it for a lot of money. So he was offered a bunch of money, didn't sell it, kept on doing it, and then Frisco Style Magazine bought it. And now the magazine wanted to, because they had a magazine going out and they tried to compete with it and they couldn't get traction because he had nailed it. Yeah. So, I think one of those things is, I got to share this, dude. Yeah. One of the best things I watched on TV, I was trying to go to bed the other night. My wife's washing her face, and I said, hey, you mind if I turn on this 60 Minutes? So I turned on 60 Minutes, and it was 60 Minutes about how 60 Minutes started. And it was like 1963, the first episode, the guy's putting a cigarette out in an ashtray. And the narrator is talking about that 60 Minutes was, 60 Minutes gets they talk about how they were in the room with all the presidents whenever they were, running for president, like how they get these amazing interviews, how at one point they would attack people, and people would run from them from 60 Minutes, like people who've gotten real jail sentences because of the stories that they produced. But 60 Minutes' core concept was they wanted to be a magazine on TV. They wanted to be the 60-minute, they want to be the magazine on TV. They wanted to tell you what was going on, right? Right. And they built that audience of becoming that publisher of content of what was going on in 60 Minutes. And they would take stories that were, they talked about stories from George W. Bush and his dad when, and they talked about sometimes when they published that stuff that wasn't true and how they had all of these people that were part of the show. I didn't even realize I recognized them all. I was like, man, they have a good lineup of people that publish content under that brand, have built an amazing brand with a very simple concept. Like they sit around and they find out what the hell are we going to talk about, on this this next episode, what's going on in the news and how can we give our interesting perspective. And our attorney, who's one of the wealthiest people in the state, he's worth probably, I don't know, $200-300 million. We went down to his office yesterday. And this is where I wish we could talk in real time.
He got a G6. Yeah, just put it that way. He got a G6.
Yeah, he's got a G6. His airplane hangar is shared with Mark Cuban. And we're sitting in there with lobbyists that come up, that go work in Washington, came up from Austin to watch his wife's documentary that they produced about Iran. The point being is she was tackling someone asked her why she did it, and she was wanting to give her perspective on a topic at the basic core. Right. So like if you have if you look at like Ryan Stewman, who's an amazing content marketer. Right. I mean, let Donald Trump do something stupid in the news. He's gonna be talking. If it happens, if it's on Tuesday, he's talking about it on Thursday. He records his podcast on Tuesday. It airs every Thursday. And he's gonna have an opinion. His opinion is gonna be polarizing. Right. And that means he's gonna half the people are gonna hate him, and the other half are gonna feel like, holy moly, I love this guy. Right. And that's what makes good entertainment. And so, I think the main mistake, if you're gonna have a podcast, have an opinion. Yep. You're gonna piss some people off. Right. But you're gonna attract a loyal following of the market. Right. Where you have an unfair advantage. Anyway.
I love it. I didn't know this was going to turn into a podcast episode about podcasts.
Yeah.
But I think that's one of the strategies that I would run with immediately.
The reason why is because most people can't go get on radio.
Right. It's expensive. This is a low cost, low barrier to entry way to enter into the conversation with influencers in the community and to position yourself in a way that other agents won't do. They just won't do it.
Yeah.
They just won't do it.
And if you go to face on this episode, our boy who edits this, we'll give you some free links and stuff to how to get your podcast up and running. One of the things we're doing.
Leave us a 5-star review while we're at it.
Yeah, give us 5-star review and subscribe.
We'll hook you up. We'll hook you up.
Yeah, we will. But we'll demystify and take the guesswork out of launching your podcast.
Yeah. If it seems a bit daunting as you start to research it, you'll be glad that you were connected with us because you're going to want to know some things. We can make it a lot easier than it appears to be.
Yeah, the last thing you want to do is be moving your entire podcast from one hosting to a different syndication because you set it up based upon the wrong information. But that's what we do is we take the guesswork out of growing your real estate businesses, doubling your real estate businesses. And I think the best thing about this is It is an easy way to get positioned as a celebrity. It gives you content to put across your people that, whether they listen to it or not, actually increases it helps positioning you. We have a lot of great content around that. If you haven't got the Double Your Business Workbook, go to kinderreese.com/double. We have an amazing new small program that we've been on the cusp of launching, which is our Kinder Reese coaching, and it's something that's probably up most of the people's alleys based upon the people that listen to this show. If you want to know more about that, you can also go consume the podcast at Kinder Reese face-to-face-podcast.com. I know I'm throwing a lot at you, and I know that this is actually what you're not supposed to do on a podcast. You're supposed to have one call. Yeah, you're supposed to have one call to action. So if I can tell you to do anything, go to face-to-face-podcast.com, and you'll be able to find the Double Your Business Workbook and all our previous episodes and all of this great stuff that you can connect with us. Yeah. You can follow me on Twitter at yreese.com. And anyway, I'm just joking. Go to the face-to-face-podcast.com website, and you can see all of our free resources and all the great stuff and all the deliverables that we will promise on this episode. There'll be a actual page dedicated to this episode and links to some cool stuff. So, all right. Thanks, everybody. Do you have anything else you want to add?
No, man. I just get really excited about it. I think that's a huge opportunity to inch your way into the celebrity spot in your marketplace, no matter where you're at in the business, especially if you're already killing it. And it's fun. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are fun. And it's really fun when you're doing it and you're interesting people that you don't really know, and you start, asking them questions and learning about them. It's just a lot of fun. There's just a lot of ways to do it. And I think it's a great idea. So jump on it. Be a doer.